Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just thought I'd speak a little bit about the Grant Williams incident in yesterday's Springboks with Argentina test match and whether or not it was a red card. Looking at the incident, it was obviously something that happened. It was horrifying to see. It's good to hear Grant is okay. It sounds like he's going to be out for a couple of weeks with concussion, which is understandable, but at least he's okay. But it robbed him of a chance of his first start in the Springbok jersey and playing in front of a home crowd, and I think it disrupted the box a bit, and what they produced a rather disjointed, sloppy performance in the end to beat Argentina. That being said, let's take a look at the incident and see how it played out on the field.
In the number 10 shirt. And a charge down early on. Grant Williams has stayed down here as well. It's his first start in Test rugby.
Well, the medics have to come on straight away here.
And okay. Looks as though he might have been knocked out cold.
I've got it, Willie. Thanks, mate. Yeah, take that time. So the penalty holding on.
So much said about Grant Williams in the build-up to this test match. Wearing the number 9 jersey for the first time.
I'm saying that's completely unavoidable.
The chase there was from Juan Cruz Malia, and the crowd has seen that on the big screen.
Committed to make the charge on. Yeah.
And questioning Dwayne Vermeulen there whether an attempt was made to charge down the ball. Trots on in jersey 21. Well,
he actually plays the ball, Dwayne. He actually plays the ball on the charge down, so it's completely unavoidable for us. There's no foul play. No foul play for us. Completely unavoidable because he's committed.
Part of the problem with rugby at the moment is that there's no real consistency when it comes to head trauma, and none of us want to see players injured or suffer lasting effects from concussion. I think the debate is ongoing about how much, whether it caused dementia in some of those players, but there's certainly a case to be made for some of the head knocks. But I think we should realize, one, that it is a contact sport, it is a collision sport, and we should be looking at ways of mitigating those risks. But the problem that we have when it comes to that is that rugby does itself no favours. We look at it where we say no head contact is all right. Now, that is head contact, and to me, it was reckless. And to be honest, I do think it was accidental. I do think it was something that wasn't premeditated, and I do think something that probably should have let gone by. It's a horrible incident to watch, and it looks worse as you slow down the cameras and you see Grant's head snap back. But saying that, we've got to look at the way that the game is reffed inside the current protocols of head contact. And when you look at the current protocols of head contact, rugby does itself absolutely no favours. Part of the problem is we sometimes give cards for things that are accidental. And if you're looking at it, you think accidental means taking a guy out in the air accidentally or colliding with him in the air and he falls wrong. You can get a red card for that. You can get a red card for an accidental clash of heads, as we saw Oxenchair do for in the UFC this year. A totally accidental situation. Shouldn't have really been a red card to me, but that's the protocol. The refs are told to ref it that way. So when you do that, and you take this incident, and you compare it to what happened to CJ Stander, against Pat Lambie a couple of years ago, where he did get a red card, and just let's have a look at that incident now. And you tell me what the difference is. Take a look at the incident as it happens here, and it gets shown again in slow motion here. And you can see it's pretty much the same sort of situation. Pat Lambie goes, CJ Stander jumps, and it was deemed reckless. He connects with his head. You can say he was going for the ball, he was trying to charge it down and try to stop himself, but he hit Pat Lambie in the head. And that became a red card incident. CJ Stander was extremely apologetic. I know I spoke to him a number of times, and he apologized to Pat Lambie, and he really felt bad about the incident. But it was probably one of the incidents that really contributed to Pat Lambie being retired at some stage. He had a number of concussions before as well. And it's a horrible thing to watch. And it's really never nice to see a player go down like that. And it's never nice to see a red card because rugby is a collision sport. But I mean, you can in this incident, the refs argued that he was reckless, and he could have stopped himself. I don't know how he could, but he could have stopped himself, and he could have not hit Pat Lambie. But this is the end result. CJ Stander made contact with Pat Lambie's head, and it was a red card. So if we take that as a red card by World Rugby standards and play this incident again now, you've just seen CJ Stander, and I'm going to slow down to half speed. And Jean Cruz Malia comes through here, flying through here, and really makes a genuine attempt to charge down. But he connects with Grant Williams in the head there and is out. And I think the other, it's one of those things where, how is that different from CJ Stander? To me, the problem is the laws. The problem is we don't have any clear-cut guidelines of what is concussion. There are accidents will happen in rugby, and we try and mitigate them as much as possible. And yes, premeditated foul play needs to be, any foul play should be dealt with. But when the situation comes where something is accidental and there is head contact, I think common sense should prevail. And rugby's problem is, a lot of the time we stick to the laws when it suits us, and we use common sense when it suits us, and we decide what else suits us when it suits us. At the end of the day, this was a reckless challenge to me. Whether it should have been a red card, whether it should have been, I don't think it should have been no sanction because it was reckless in my eyes. I know a lot of people probably debate me on this one, but I personally feel that this was a reckless challenge on Grant Williams, but I think most people would probably be happy if it had been a penalty, but not doing anything on the incident. You should almost say, well, okay, that's fine. And when you compare it to the CJ Stander situation, where's the consistency in that? And we're seeing more and more of these incidents. And unfortunately, the biggest worry is that it's somewhere at the World Cup, it's going to rear its head. A team's going to get a red card for an incident that common sense probably says shouldn't be a red card, and then that'll be the end of their World Cup. Now, I don't know how you fix this. There's a lot of people a lot cleverer than I that doing these things, and I understand the protocol from the refs, and I understand that they're only following orders. But it's just that sometimes they disregard orders. We've seen it in Super Rugby where head-high challengers get yellow cards, where the rest of the world would probably be a red. We've seen places where red cards go unpunished at all. And that's why the consistency is the thing that it comes back to. And I think in a case like this was a horrible incident. You look at any mother looking at a kid playing that game and seeing an incident like that and say, oh, the refs say it's okay. That's not the message you want to send out there. I do think it was an accident. I think most of us would probably agree that it would probably be a penalty. But by leaving it, or going to the other extreme, you leave rugby in the position where it does itself absolutely no favours. Now, saying that, it's going to be gone. Unfortunately, Grant Williams won't go to Argentina with the box now, and depending on what his symptoms are, we'll see if there's any lasting damage. My real hope is that there isn't any lasting damage for the guy as well. But it's something World Rugby needs to address rather urgently. It's something that World Rugby needs to do something about desperately quickly. I'm not sure how you fix it, but at some point we've got to have a bit more common sense prevailing. It was a horrible incident to see. Sitting in the stadium there, it was shocking from the kickoff. I mean, I think we all were stunned by it, and Bok players included. And it ends up leaving the game in a situation where you don't want. And so I don't know. To me, I think I would have understood if it was a red, because we've seen reds like that in the past, including CJ's. CJ's one, by the way, when it happened, I didn't think it was a red. I thought it was unfortunate. But I would have understood if it's a red. But by saying it's nothing, you almost condone those sort of hits on players. And I think at anything, the challenge was reckless. I've had conversations with my colleague Gavin Rich. He believes the guy was going for a charge down, and it was an accident. And I can see the differing opinions in that. I just think when you're going to give red cards out for accidental clashes in the air, with accidental head clashes, then you open yourselves up to these sort of debates. And we need some clarity. We need some finality. And hey, I'm open to hearing what you say. If you think it was or wasn't, let me know below in the comments. I'd really like to hear your view. It's definitely something you don't want to see in every game, and you don't want to see it happen often. And I think it'd be great to have some sort of understanding of why there is such a difference in the viewpoints and the interpretation of the head clash law across the hemispheres and across rugby games. It does the game no favours, and that's rugby's biggest problem. They shoot themselves in the foot by doing that. The game's already so complicated to begin with that you can rule a number of probably 50 different penalties at every breakdown. And then we set a situation where teams are going to lose players for the entire game, with a red card for something that could be accidental and something that could be a challenge. I know I'm probably sounding like I'm contradicting myself here. I think what we need is more clarity. I think, as I say, on the basis and the technicality of the laws, I could understand if it was a red card. It would have been unfortunate. But I think by doing nothing on it, you send a different message as well. And that's also not right. So I think another big part of my worry about this is how long it took the ref to stop play. If we look here, it takes, there's a stop, there's a watch there. It takes 10, 12, 13 seconds before the ref actually realizes what's going on. All the players around, and you see Villiers coming in and telling him the player's injured, and only then the ref calls in the medics, etc. But yeah, this happened again in the game, unfortunately, when one of the Argentinian locks got knocked out. If it wasn't for Faf de Klerk, signaling it, the ref probably would have played on as well. So that's also a huge worry, is how long the match officials take to see these incidents and get the medics onto the field. But that's, I suppose, another argument altogether. Let me know where you stand. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and chat to you again soon. Cheers.